Basically, when we talk about this particular thing, yes, as a propounder of the technology business incubator, founder of this particular incubator, we are always very excited for unleashing the innovation and entrepreneurship in agriculture. Basically, why we wanted to do this particular thing. In the whole scenario, when we were doing a lot of research in agriculture, we saw a lot of things happen. Before 1960s, we were begging bowl, and India was actually importing the food grains from the Western countries. During the 60s, scientists have developed a lot of good varieties of different crops, coupled with good agronomic practices, that is including the fertilizers and other chemicals, so that we can improve our food grain production, and we achieved it. And we have been from the begging bowl to a surplus country till 2000, till 1980s. This I am telling you because many of you may not be knowing what exactly the hunger was. Even I also have just seen at the fag end of that particular era. So presently we are surplus in most of our, not only in our food grains, but also in other things also, whereas in which you can find the fruits and vegetables, pulses, oilseeds. Yes, we are still going to achieve the self-sufficiency, but almost all things have been achieved. Again, I wanted to tell one more important thing here is that if we as an India were not only dependent on the technology, because technology is available, but another thing which is required is the finance. So at this particular time, a lot of finance has come in that in terms of different loans to the farmers, and all those things coupled with that, we could achieve this self-sufficiency as on date. But now we have a different challenge. The challenge is that our focus from last 7 to 8 years has shifted not from the production point, but from the income point. So we have the target of doubling the farmer's income and becoming the 5 trillion US dollar economy. Is to, if we really look into that, agriculture still is a backbone. Today, when we are in a situation where nothing is working except agriculture, we feel that it is the sector which needs more and more importance in future. And in this sector, I'll tell you what happened is that we had been doing a lot of research in public research system, which has actually has led to the this particular situation. But now the public research system is getting a bit fatigued. Now we require more and more entrepreneurial people to come into the system and work out for the farmers along with public system, because public system also needs some breather. Here again, both in terms of technology as well as finance, we require both of them. And therefore, when we were planning this particular thing, I thought it technology from the point of soil and finance from the point of financing the farmers. We have brought two very, very good companies who have started their journey, and they will be telling about your journey. So this particular problem, when we saw it and the ecosystem, how we have developed, I can tell you the whole ecosystem. I have told about the research and development ecosystem of agriculture, but startup ecosystem has a bit different view. It actually agriculture has actually a lot of dimensions if you really look into that, from food security to environment security. Now the consumer need is becoming more and more important. People are going for the quality aspects. Socio-economic parity, which is very, very important. There is has been a very big urban-rural divide in terms of socio-economic parity. All these things coupled with that, we actually require a lot of things. If we really look into the startups specifically, which has been lagging in terms of agriculture system, because agriculture, either a big companies, fertilizer companies, chemical companies are there, or a big research organizations like ICR is there. There needs to be people who are bridging both of these, not only both of these, but also farmers to everyone. So here comes the startup ecosystem, and if we really look into the startup journeys across the sectors, in India we started in 1980 with Department of Science and Technology bringing the step. This particular step actually has a started an entrepreneur. That is step is a science and technology entrepreneurial park. Keep on coming to it. 2002, when there has been a shift in the whole economic model of the India, we have brought in the technology business incubator by the DST. In ICR, we have brought it the IP policy as well as IPTM unit 2017 and technology business incubator in 2013. But last 4 to 5 years, since 2015 or 14, when we started, when we had a national startup India policy, there has been a very, very big push to this particular sector. And now we are seeing the fruits of the startups which have come up around 2010 to 2014 and 15. They are being really encouraged upon by the system. When I told you that there has been a big push from the 2015 onwards, this was the time when the action plan and startup policy was brought in to consolidate the current ecosystem, grow the ecosystem, and facilitate the ecosystem. What is this ecosystem? It is the ecosystem of innovation. It is the ecosystem of innovation in all sectors, including agriculture, where academia, research labs, and frugal or grassroots innovators are there, which are the solution providers for a lot of issues that has been we were postponing as a public sector, thinking that these are very small, but it requires. And on the other side, when solution seekers are there, they are the global R&D, governments are also there, MNCs are also there, even and the consumers are also there. Now, there has been a very big ecosystem enablers in terms of accelerators, incubators, entrepreneurs and startups who have been supported by these incubators and accelerators and not even supported. There are many startups who are there with that thing. But for them, investors, legal partners, financial institutions, and government systems are very, very important. So this particular ecosystem has been very deep. Now coming to our area, our A idea, which I was talking about. A idea is basically an association for innovation and development of entrepreneurship in agriculture. Our vision is basically an agro-entrepreneurial ecosystem in India that promotes innovation through cutting-edge technologies and economic value return. We have been including both the things that cutting-edge technologies. If you see, when Kondaji was talking about Sandeep Kondaji will talk about the soil sampling, how the 8 to 9 days work has been came to very, very few minutes or maybe half an hour, 20, 30 minutes is completing. When I say economic value return, I can really vouch Ashish will be bringing that particular value to this particular thing. So we try to cover the whole vision in the whole system. We as a ICR system, we have a network of more than 108 research institutes, 650 KVKs and 70 agriculture universities with 6,000 scientists across India in almost all subjects, which starts from farm to food plate, including ICT, precision farming, innovative food supply chain, fisheries, soil water mechanization, sustainable input, agriculture, fintech, animal husbandry, urban farming, agribiotic, post-harvest, and fresh retail. These are all the sectors in which A idea works very seriously in that. What we do actually, we do a lot of things in our incubation center. We sensitize because what we have seen, lot of people are coming into agri startups, but most of them lack in the basic agriculture technology. So we are sensitizing all the agriculture universities and their students to actually take up in future that this is an exciting thing. We do incubate. Incubation is converting your idea into the POC and then accelerate. Both of these companies have been accelerated by us. That is, they have POC ready. Now it is ready to market in a large scale. And we also do some seed investment to our incubating companies. It's up to 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs rupees, depending on that. Here I wanted to bring in one more thing. Since NAM has been supported, earlier supported by DST, but later has been supported by BIRAC, and now we are also the big ignition brand partner, where igniting ideas The scheme round starts, 17th round is about to start in July. Anyone having a very good idea in agriculture, they wanted to convert it into a new prototype for the commercial use, they are all welcome to apply for this. This is a grant of 50 lakhs by the BIRAC through us. So I'll just tell you two companies other than these two which has been compared. There is a company called Saja Agro in Amritsar. What they do is that they actually convert their preserve the food, fresh food, fresh fruits and vegetables to have a longer shelf life, and this particular is important at this particular time. What we are seeing nowadays is farmers are growing, but they cannot keep it, they cannot sell it, because in the cities it is very difficult to go and sell it out. They need to keep it fresh, so they can keep it fresh like this. One is treated and one is untreated. You yourself can look into the scenario. This type of companies with new molecules they have come up, which they treat the fruits and vegetables and keep it for a very very long period, so that they can retain the economic value of these perishables. Another company which I talked to, the precision farming, although Sandeep company is also on a precision farming, but this company is a very very innovative company. It actually surveys the farm field based on the hyperspectral imaging, continuously monitors it, and then gives the advice that what is happening in the field, because lot of biochemical changes which you cannot see with the eyes, they can see with the hyperspectral images and hyperspectral codes. So based on that, they can tell at least a few days before that there is going to be a particular disease or pest in this particular area. This will reduce not only the cost of input, but also justify the cost. These are the types of companies that we are incubating at our places. That's what I wanted to actually emphasize in this particular thing. Now, the final the company thing is that way forward, we are looking for the opportunities exist for nurturing and building more enabling platforms for entrepreneurial journey. That means we require more and more incubators. I can tell you that ICR earlier has a 25 agri-business incubators in different centers, but now it is 50. Probably these 50 incubators are in 50 different specific this specific subject matter institute. For example, rice or millet, these are there, but at NAM you will find everything. So we have been creating a lot of buzz in this particular field. Government policies are nowadays favoring a lot to the startup. We have to actually look into that. And my final call here is that networking is very very important. That is why whenever I get a call from anybody to speak on that, I always like to join it so that I can improve my network. So I always urge all of you to join the journey in agricultural startup ecosystem, which is really very exciting, and we can really look into that in a very very better way. We can make a better India by creating a better rural economy, and rural economy majorly depends on agriculture. Come, let us join here. Thank you. And based on our efforts, we have been awarded Emerging Technology Business Incubator in 2017. Thank you very much. I think we'll take questions later on when we come together.
I would now like to welcome Ashish sir to share his journey as and how he started his went ahead and thought of starting this entrepreneurial journey. And during the situation of COVID-19, what would be your suggestions to the startups?
All of us here must be aware that, as Srinivas rightly pointed out, that there is a huge role which is required of finance in agriculture today. If you look at the numbers, India's debt to GDP ratio is around 70%, 68 to 70%. But if you look at the agri economy per se, the debt to GDP ratio is only 40, 42%. it means that our farmers, we always talk about debt as a negative things, but let me tell you something. Debt from formal sources is not a negative thing, but it's quite and positive things as we understand in the finance language. We call it leverage. Means supposingly if you have 1 rupee of your own and if you are able to generate a profit of say 10 paise from that, maybe by deploying that 1 rupee, and if you are able to get some 2 rupee more from someone else, you will be able to generate more than 30 paise. So by deploying 1 rupee of your own and leveraging that to a certain extent from some other sources, your profit goes up. We call this leverage. So the same thing is required by the farmers as well, because we have to recognize the farm economy as a industrial economy in itself. A farmer is what? A farmer is a producer. A farmer is a producer. He produces something and he sells in the market. So he also needs to use the same tools and techniques which any other business, whether it's a service industry or manufacturing industry, will use. And there, finance plays a very important part. Unfortunately, most of this finance to farmers used to come and still even today comes from informal sources, where the rate of interest can be a killer. While it is important to have certain leverage, it is important to keep the leverage ratio down, means your debt ratio should be lower, as well as the rate of interest, the cost of interest should be lower. Otherwise, debt becomes a double-edged sword and usually goes against, instead of generating profit, it generated loss. And that part you can also, so 2 days back, actually day before, so Prime Minister and Finance Minister, when they announced a 20,000 crore, 2 lakh crore rupee package for India, what they did, a large part of it is going towards, from that 20 lakh crore rupee package, a large part of it is going to finance the farmers. The farmers who are not able to receive credit today, there is provision for that. The farmers who are not using tools like Kisan credit card, there is a provision for that. And to support the banks and the cooperatives who are lending to the farmers, there is a refinance facility which NABARD will be using. So everyone recognizes that this finance is the crux which is required at this juncture, as well as for the proper functioning of the agri economy in a long term. And that is where our startup world comes into play. So as they say that there are different ways of reaching a goal. There are different ways of reaching a goal. You don't need to go through only one single path. Similarly, when we talk about doubling of the farmer's income, a large part of it will come directly from, no doubt, from applying principles which will raise the yield for the farmers. Some part of it will come from providing them market linkage, for example, connecting them directly to the consumers so that they get the best prices. But one simple part which will help them in raising their both their income as well as profitability, because they also need working capital, right? If they want to sell, they want to grow different crops, if they want to grow different better crops, they need financing for that. So finance is one of the routes which is also indirectly helping the farmers in raising their income, and that is where we come into play. And I will just share one of our presentation about what we are doing, how we are doing that, what World is doing, and how we are benefiting the farmers. I will just take a few minutes of yours, and we will go ahead with that. So we are playing certain part in the, as I mentioned, in the financing journey of the farmers, and in the post-harvest finance. So what we have seen that in India, the finance pre-harvest, that is when the crop is to be grown before the harvesting has happened, the major focus has been there. So that around 13 lakh crore rupee of loan were issued in pre-harvest finance last year by the banks to the farmers, which is around 16% of the total loans given in India by all the banks and other financial institutions put together. But what we see that it doesn't get translated in the post-harvest finance. It means when the post-harvest happens, and if the farmer doesn't have the ability to hold the goods, let us take the example of today. you guys will be aware, because I believe most of the audience is from the students. So the guys and the girls who are there from different institutions and the startups who are there, they would be aware that what is the price we are paying in the. So I have seen myself that the potatoes which we were buying around 20-25 rupees kg here in Mumbai, today I am paying 40 rupees for that in the retail market. But do you think that the farmers are getting those benefits? Certainly not. The prices the retail is paying in the COVID scenario is way too high than what farmer is getting. Rather, the reverse divergence has taken place. Farm gate prices have gone down in last 50 days from the previous year. At the same time, the retail which we are paying for all the things, grains, rice, atta, everything has gone up. At the same time, the wheat prices have gone down from 2200 per quintal. Today they are selling for 1500 rupees per quintal, and that is the scenario when the MSP, the minimum support price, is 1800 rupees. Similarly, if you look at what is happening in Jeera, the cumin seeds in Gujarat itself, and we are, by the way, associated with Gujarat. We were part of NAM Accelerator, and now we are part of IIM Ahmedabad's Financial Inclusion Lab. And not far away from Ahmedabad, Jeera is selling for 50% at the 50% rate of what it is selling on NCDX exchange today. The NCDX rate is 140 rupees. Jeera in Patan is selling for 70 to 80 rupees. So what we are seeing that the divergence has taken a lot, and this is the harvest season. What is the option for the farmers? The option for the farmers is, of course, not to sell. The farmer as a businessman would like to sell it at the right point of time when his realization is better. But because the economy is now, the ecosystem is not functioning properly, and there are not much buyers at the farm gate, so the farmer is not getting proper price. So he is forced to sell today. But if he is forced to sell today, what happens? The farmer doesn't get the better realization. At the same time, the retail, the consumers, they are paying higher prices. I would like to quote Sharad Joshi, who was a very renowned agriculture activist. He said, "तुम सस्ता बेचकर रोते हो," the farmer, "तुम सस्ता बेचकर रोते हो और हम महंगा खरीद कर रोते हैं." So nobody is getting benefit in this. The consumer is paying higher, and the farmers are getting lower for that. So how do we solve this? तुम सस्ता बेचकर रोते हो और हम, rather he said, तुम सस्ता बेचकर मरते हो और हम महंगा खरीद कर मरते हैं. How do we solve that? So there is a tool called warehouse receipt finance, and that is very much relevant today. The farmers can, instead of selling today at that price where the prices are 50% below the exchange prices, 30% below the MSP prices, they can stop selling it. They can deposit it in a warehouse. Then the question will happen, what comes to them? I mean, if they stop selling it now, they don't have the money, and as a household, they also, both as an agriculture industrialist, he has to run his next crop. He needs input for that. He needs to buy seeds. He needs to use the tractors in those farmlands. He needs to pay to the labor. He requires the working capital. If he doesn't sell the goods, he doesn't have the working capital. At the same time, he also requires money for his household expenses. He has to pay the fee of his son. He has to pay for a marriage of his daughter. What the farmer does in that case, if he stores, he doesn't have the money. That is where the role of post-harvest warehouse receipt finance comes. The farmer can deposit the goods in a warehouse, and in the warehouse, once he has deposited the goods, such warehouses are accredited with the banks, and then the banks lend. By the way, you will be surprised to know that rate of lending here is not like 36% to 50%, which a money lender is charging to farmers in the COVID scenario. The rate of interest is 9%, 8.5% SBI is offering, 9 to 10% at an average. 3% is a subsidy available against that. Means the average rate cost of financing is only 6 to 7%. And then the farmer can sell the goods once the market stabilizes, and the prices, he is getting the right prices. So our NIAM, National Institute of Agriculture Market, has done a lot of research into this, and their research says that if the farmers adopt warehouse receipt finance, their income without doing anything else goes up by 25 to 40%, and that is net income we are talking about. Means the higher realization reduced by the cost of transportation, cost of storage in the warehouse, as well as the interest cost on that. IFC runs a $1 billion global warehouse receipt finance program across LDC countries. And what they have found that the farm gate income goes up to 300% in the African countries. So warehouse receipt finance, as I mentioned, helps achieve this goal of doubling the farmer income by another route, by the route of financing the crop after the harvest. So this is what we are doing. Actually, we are making this electronic across India. Right now, we are working in Maharashtra, and by adopting this our digital solution of warehouse receipt finance, this is how it looks like. The farmer has a mobile application. The banks, the warehouses, the verification agencies, collateral managers, exchanges, all of them are connected together. And this is what the solution we provide. What we are able to do, the impact. Today, if the farmer wants to take a loan through the manual system, the minimum he takes is 5 to 7 days, and that too after 2 to 3 visits at the bank, which is far away from his home. That wait period can be from 7 days. Actually speaking, can go up to 15 days. The second problem is that today, if he wants to repay the loan and sell the goods, it will again take him 4 to 5 days, 3 to 4 days at least. Plus, he will have to arrange finances to repay the loan first, because what he did that he deposited the crop in a warehouse, took loan against that. Now the bank will not allow that goods in the warehouse to be released, to be sold before the loan is repaid. What it means that the farmer will have to go to another source of finance, maybe a Mahajan, maybe a money lender. What we do on our system, that we make this loan available in 5 minutes. He makes a deposit, in 5 minutes the money is credited in his bank account. Also, when he wants to sell the goods, he can sell the goods on our trading platform and doesn't need to repay the bank beforehand. He will repay whatever the money comes from selling the goods. The loan of the bank is repaid, and the farmer receives the rest of the payment. So that way, an instant loan disbursement as well as online trade and repayment. That is what we have been able to do. And so already we are working. We have already we started transactions on the platform in January in collaboration with Maharashtra State. We have already generated. We did a pilot actually there on 16 warehouses. We have already created digital warehouse receipts worth 39 crore rupees. Out of that, farmers' contribution was 4 crore rupees, and that is during the lockdown period. So actual transactions started in February. In March, we started the lockdown. So still during this period, the farmers have been able to deposit goods worth 4 crore rupees in 16 warehouses. 30 crore was actually deposited from the government itself to the procurement, and around 5 crore was from the traders. But you can see that 40% is actually, the ratio is 45% from the farmers and 55% from the traders. And by this success, government of Maharashtra has decided to bring a 2,000 crore rupee warehouse receipt finance. All of that, 5 will be available to the farmers at a concessional rate of interest 9%, on which subsidy of 3% is available. So the rate of interest will be 6% per annum. And the farmers will be up to 5 lakhs rupee loan will be given instantaneously without any verification. A farmer deposits the goods in a government warehouse, loan is available to him through the mobile application instantaneously. So that government of Maharashtra has recognized that impact of warehouse receipt finance, and they have brought through Maharashtra State Cooperative Bank a 2,000 crore rupee fund has come. This 2,000 crore rupees coming as first tranche. There is talk to jack it up and there is some interest from multilateral agencies as well. So this is what we are doing, and this is what our journey is. Uh, Anything else? We will be willing to. We will be happy to answer any question here today as well. As well as you can contact us through the organizers, and we will be happy to answer all the questions.
I would now like to invite Sandeep sir to share his journey on how he thought of coming up, saw the problems in the soil testing, and came up with one of the most effective soil testing kits. Over to you, sir.
I'll just take through presentation. So I mean, I'll just explain it since I'm not able to share the screen. So anyhow, so coming to now Indian soil health aspect. Now, if we take India being most of them being small and marginal farmers. So the land that we have overall is about we have 2.4% of the world's total arable land that is available for agriculture. And in this available land now again there are like 350 million hectares is being utilized for doing farming, doing agriculture in India, and about that only about 60 to 70% of them is been actively involved in agricultural activities. So now having this now there are a lot of reports, I mean, from even there is from Indian Niti Aayog, and also there are reports from FAO bodies, international bodies, on the observations stating that the rate at which the soil erosion is happening due to various factors like water pollution and also excessive usage of chemicals on the ground is at a very alarming rate, which is actually causing, more than the productivity of the entire farm is at its peak lowest thing at present. So now, so many farmers doing activities, like more than about 55 crore of Indian population are directly or indirectly involved into the agriculture practice. Now the availability of laboratories to perform this soil testing and provide them in a timely manner on how much nutrient availability is there in the soil is very limited, which is the ratio if we take. So there is only one laboratory which is available in India for 1.5 lakh farmers. So if it has to be there, like every farmer's soil has to be tested on a continuous basis, then it will take for an existing infrastructure to carry out that entire soil testing activity. It will take about 10 years to provide that. But this is again a seasonal requirement. So every season, a farmer will have to go for the soil testing, and based on the report of the soil, they will have to take the decision on how much fertilizer has to be used in the soil, which is not happening currently. So what we have come up with is a technology where we have reduced, the time that takes which earlier from a laboratory for about 3 weeks to few months, and sometimes it used to take even more than 6 months also in some of the regions where, from the laboratories with existing laboratories. So we have reduced the time now for 30 minutes. So in a less than 30 minutes now, this report can be generated. So this how we have done it. So we have taken this traditional laboratory technology where the things like chemicals used to get mixed with the soil sample solution, and then there will be a chemist who will be doing that activity. We have totally automated that and then miniaturized it so that it is portable, and then this can be taken to the field or in a region where more number of farmers are available in a specific region. They can bring their soil sample all together and get their soil testing done and send that as an SMS along with the fertilizer recommendation, like how much of quintal output based on the target output that is required. So based on that, how much of fertilizer will have to be dosed. So this essentially will help not only improve the productivity of the farm, but also it will improve gradually your soil health also, because now which is going over there, it is just like taking medicine for the dosage which is required for the body. So if you don't have if you have some deficiency in your body, then you take nutrients. So that nutrients again, if you take in excess, so then it is like polluting your body. like for example, in case of chemicals, it is like medicine, taking like tablets in the form of any paracetamol or anything. So before taking any of these medication, doctors will perform the blood test and then they provide you the prescription on what has to be taken. So this activity has to be done in the similar fashion, and for which now we have bought this technology through fertilizer manufacturing companies, farmer producer organizations, which is also creating rural employment. Because of this automation, it is making any person to operate it. So one of the customer that we have deployed, the user of this equipment is eight standard passed. I mean, not even completed eight standard. So that is a sort of literacy that is required to operate this equipment. So and it is also creating that livelihood in return in turn along with doing this soil testing. So this is the overall, it is the overall benefit that will create for the entire ecosystem, where the soil health is being maintained, farmers' input cost is being reduced, productivity is increasing, and also now the fertilizer companies, which used to now sell earlier like in a blind way, so they can now focus more and target their production and also sales in a region specific where there is a they can target their fertilizer combination in the region where the soil nutrients are known. So if there is an excessive nutrient in certain regions, then they need not sell those things over there. So they can sell only things where it is deficient. So now this being the whole thing, now this is the technology that is being developed and being reached out to these stakeholders and accelerators like AIDEA, which is run by ICAR, NARM. So being actively engaged with this agricultural sector and helping startups to bring this technology alive into these dimensions is creating a, so we could say that we are lucky to be a part of and associated with these incubators and accelerators, and one another than other than that certain foundations that we are working, like Deshpande Foundation in Hubli, where they're again working on the impact and livelihood of the farmers to increase the income. So again, we are helping them, partnering with them by providing our solution there uh, to again improve the livelihood of the farmer and also the productivity and also bring in the impact on the soil health. So any further information, I'd be glad to answer those. So this is it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your information. Um, if now we would like to take up questions. We have had a lot of questions in the chat, in the question and answer section, and also on Facebook. We have some interesting questions. So we have one question from Alex, who wants to know as to how hydroponic, if he wants to do a startup in agroponics or hydroponics, so how can he scale up? What would be the issues, and how viable is that? So, Sandeep sir, we would like to take up this question.
Uh, yeah, specific to hydroponics, I mean, we are not involved in the hydroponic business, but however, I would still take that question. So, hydroponics basically, I mean, in India, I don't know much about the commercial activity been happening. Dr. Srinivas sir, I think, have come across certain startups who are actively engaged in that. So, probably. Srinivas sir, I would request you to throw more insights on this.
I'd like to ask a question to Ashish sir.
Yes.
So there is one question that how do you reach out to the farmers and educate them regarding your platform, and at the same time, how do you convince them to switch from the conventional mode to using your platform?
What we do that we have a customer outreach program, and we reach them through our because most of the farmers we deal with typically are already digital savvy, because uh, I won't say digital savvy, but they are certainly digitized farmers, especially in because most of the farmers who come for warehouse receipt finance are typically the farmers who have a certain, who are not very small and marginal farmers, will typically will be having more than 5 acres of land, or sometimes they, I mean, typically above that. So, and typically their deposits will also be around 4 to 5 lakhs rupees. So these are in a season. So these are the farmers who are a bit more well versed with technology. So we reach them through our technological, our customer outreach through SMSs as well as through voice calls. Plus, we also have a customer care service available on the chat. That is there. Further, when they come to the warehouse, directly we have today more than 1125 warehouses on our platform, more than 1,000 in Maharashtra itself. So when they reach the warehouses in 200 locations, on 200 locations of Maharashtra, we have agents. When they reach there, the warehouse man also helps them in using the technology. So they can use our tech in one through the mobile app. Second part is that if they don't have a mobile app, or if they are not well versed with technology, or if they are not having a phone also, if they reach the warehouse, we are able to help them. So in the warehouse, we have provided computers where in the assisted mode, the farmers can apply for the loan, and then the loan request goes to the bank immediately. So that way we are able to help them both in the warehouse as well as on the app. The third part is that we are able to convince them, because most of warehouse receive finance in India today. Typically, we see that the rate of interest is more than around. So typical average rate of interest is around 10 to 11% at the same, where we are offering a lower rate of interest to our partner banks. And secondly, the loan is available immediately. But thirdly, if he is not taking the loan on that same day, he can take it after 15 days. If he wants to take, he can apply through the app. So these are the digital facilities which he gets, and which convinces him to use the digital platform instead of going through the conventional.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a question for Sandeep sir, that what would be the cost of the soil kit, and if they can get it in Gujarat, they want to use it here.
I mean, generally the way we work is for soil testing, we partner with farmer organizations. So it will be not like for individual farmers that we sell this. So it will be more through farmer organizations. So if we could get the location details of that, then we could connect to them to our nearest partner who will be available there.
A couple of questions I was seeing is on the hydroponics. So I just wanted to tell all of you that there are companies which not only help you in knowing the nitty-gritties of hydroponics, but also will help you in establishing them. In Gujarat itself, in Ahmedabad, there is a incubator called iCreate. Within that, there is a company called City Green. If you want the website of City Greens, it's a Bangalore-based company actually, but also incubated at iCreate in Ahmedabad. Those who wants to look into their website and understand in detail, they can go on citygreens.in. There are a couple of questions I was seeing. I also lost in between, so many questions I am losing it. There is a question for Sandeep. Is Junagadh area, that is Gujarat itself. How can we help them out?
So we can actually for the soil testing, we'll have to see if we have any of our partner center there, or if these people are, again, if they are a group of farmers, then we can look into a engagement where we can establish the systems for them. So
Satyan Singh has asked a question for Ashish. Ashish, are you able to see?
Yeah.
Can you answer this?
I will answer it here live because he is raising a very. Namaskar, Satyendra ji. So Satyendra runs. By the way, I hope I am recognizing the right Satyendra. So if I'm not wrong, Satyendra runs a very interesting startup called Bastar Se Bazaar Tak. That is in Chhattisgarh, in Bastar, and I will answer all the questions one by one, Satyendra ji. So the third part I will answer first. After the post-harvest, farmers need immediate payment. I fully agree to that. That's why if the market price is lower, what they can do, that they can bring the harvest to the warehouse, deposit it there, and 70% of the market price is paid to the farmer immediately. So the farmer's immediate liquidity need is solved, and he is not being forced to sell the goods as well. So that is how we are helping the farmers in getting the price when the market price is low, by avoiding the distress sale at that point of time. After 2 months, when the prices are good, he can sell that, repay the loan. Coming to the to the first part, major commodities. So we are largely servicing through our partner network. We are largely servicing non-perishable commodities. Means because as someone already asked, that the cold storage market is not that great. Plus, the banks would also be willing to lend against the commodities. In perishable, there is always a huge risk of rotting, etc. And so, non-perishable items, most of the grains and cash crop are covered. Spices, all of them are covered under this. And certainly, we can help the startups in the NTFP, where you are doing a great job in Chhattisgarh state. So after the lockdown is over, we have plans to go to different state governments and ask them to onboard us, our technology platform, on their warehouses. If they agree, we will be willing to do that for NTFP warehouse, NTFP producers as well. I hope that answers the question, Satanji. Thanks a lot for asking all these things.
Uh,
So there's a question coming from Facebook that is there a specific warehouse facility available if there is for perishable farm products, and any platform for that or specific way of dealing with that, making it affordable for farmers?
So yes, there are actually there are cold storage for perishable goods, no doubt about that. But unfortunately, in India, the demand versus supply is way too low. More than 50% of cold stores are centers are located in only two states, UP and West Bengal. Also, large part of that capacity goes towards potato storage in those two states. So there are cold storages available for perishables as well, but that capacity is very much limited. And nowadays, there are aggregators who have also come up in the cold storage spaces. If you Google for cold storage aggregators, you will find that.
besides that, I can tell you, India requires a lot of cold storages. Actually, storages also, but cold storages also, a lot of cold storages we require. If anyone is interested to do that, they can actually look into the schemes of the government of India on storages as well as cold storages specifically.
Sir, one question is from Facebook. The pandemic is impacting global food system, disrupting regional agriculture value chain and posing risk to household food security. What impact on this future on price of these things?
Uh, Let me tell you about the prices. Prices are really a tricky issue to actually predict at any point of time. What is happening as of now is that the same price, if you look into the fruits and vegetable prices, they are very high in the city where consumers are taking, but the farmers is getting very, very low. But there are many farmers, there are many entrepreneurial farmers who are joining together and sending their produce to the city and selling it directly to the consumer. Those farmers are very, very getting very good prices. Regarding prices of the staples, mostly government is has announces the minimum support prices. Definitely, as on date, these minimum support prices may not be doing good in many places, but many places they are doing good. Telangana, all the farm produce which has a minimum support price, government of Telangana is procuring it. But in many places, there may be chances that they may go below the MSP, but it is around the MSP. So, and in long run, they can actually take the benefits of these storages as well as warehouse receipts, loans, and warehouse receipts, all those things.
I would like to add to this that while the prices is certainly, as sir pointed out, may or may not be a real. It is difficult to predict them, but we believe that the customers will be willing to pay a premium for anything which at least in next 1 to 2 years till the time the memory of the virus fades, the customers will be willing to pay if it can be certified that the exposure has been minimal, or the or if the customer knows the where the goods is, where the food is coming from, what are the value chain, which value chain it has crossed. So any technology which can provide that assurance to the consumer, whether in the form of a technology that covers the journey, so some of the so farm to fork, if you can do that. If you are also a startup, if you are thinking from that perspective, then can you launch certain say devices which will protect the farm goods from exposure, or they can say, for example, if they have been exposed, then how can the virus or bacteria can be killed. So some UV devices have come into that. So if you are thinking from a startup perspective, this will be a really good area to go for in next I mean, as soon better to start as fast as possible, but for next 2 to 3 years the demand will continue. And if the what happens that these things also create customer behavioral change. So if customer behavioral change sustains in the longer term, uh, I mean, the market will be very, very big for these sort of technologies.